Hello, and welcome to The Hill is Always Greener, a show where four friends have chilling discussions about Sonic the Hellhog to distract themselves from the inevitable passage of time and their own rapidly waning ability to relate to the youth. Because
we're finally doing an Illbleed episode, huh?
I'm your spooky host with the most today, GameBuddy.
Oh, and I'm that horrible, nasty representation of all those disgusting, evil, oppressive Western forces behind Sonic the Hedgehog. That's right, I'm Faulerro, and I don't care that Sonic's actually the wind.
Oh my god, you can't say that!
I'm RockTheJake, and we have nothing to fear but fear itself.
Nothing bad ever happens to RockTheJake!
And I'm CyberLink, and welcome to the Hollow's Always Wiener. That is the fastest I've regretted saying something in a long time.
Oh boy.
The regret was in real time before you even finished this word.
Hey,
I did not think about the pun as long as I probably should have.
That's what he said. Well, if all that garbage wasn't a clue, this is our annual spooky Halloween episode.
Ooh. Welcome to our Wiener show.
Yes, Wienerville. That was a show with puppets. This is
we're old.
Oh my god. Okay. This is going to be a shorter look at some holiday appropriate Sonic media today, and that usually means we are diving into Sonic's history with comic books. So today we're going back to the Sonic X comic. Yay! A comic that we have enjoyed looking at. However, I would not say our look back at this at the Sonic X comic line today was as exciting as our revisit with El Gran Gordo, but it's not too bad, man. It's fine.
we were just like, oh, we need something to talk about that's Halloween themed, and Luke was like, I've got a great thing that we can cover.
Don't put words in my mouth.
That's exactly what it was. Something like that. I think you were just like, well, we could do that Sonic X Halloween thing. I'm sure that'll be fine.
Well, I think
that's more accurate.
The reason it came up is because this is a direct follow-up to an episode from the show, episode 19, the one where they go to the castle to film the movie with Chris's mom, and the ghosts from Sonic Adventure 2 are there. King Boom Boo. And this is a direct follow-up with those same ghosties. And yeah, it does a pretty good. It fits into that continuity pretty good. Man, I'm trying not to say these issues suck because they don't. They're just delightfully mediocre, and
I think the word you usually use is cromulent.
Yeah, I do. I've never met so far in the show a more cromulent set of comic book issues than these two. Because there's nothing particularly bad about them. It's just all fine. Like, the writing isn't that bad. There's a couple of, I would say, continuity errors that I sure hope somebody got fired for, but the characters just talk like very simple and plain, like, hello, my name is Chris Thorndike, and this is the emotion I am feeling at this moment. And the art isn't terrible compared to some of the other art in the book. Like, nothing is traced, but it is just off enough to where it's not interesting at all.
The artists are clearly struggling trying to match that Sonic X style.
Yes.
Particularly cheese.
Yeah. Man, so many, and this wasn't just a Sonic X thing. Even when the Chow showed up in, like, the main Archie book, people just gave the fuck up trying to draw Chow. Like, it's two blobs and they color them blue. Them kids know what it is. Jesus.
They got a little floating bat.
But yes, we are going to look at issues 13 and 14 of the Archie published Sonic X comic books today. The story is entitled Harem Scarum Parts 1 and 2, because this is a two-parter, which is something we definitely knew before we started reading these, right, fellas?
Yeah, I was going to say, when Luke suggested it, I was like, yes, issue 13, that's the one that's got the spooky cover. But it turns out, no, there's more than that. Also, technically speaking, there's more than this, because while this is a two-parter, all of this bleeds directly from issue 12, which I did read ahead of this.
And issue 7.
That's true, yeah, because I read that. I was like, well, I best go back to 7.
Look, I saw a Halloween cover and I made an executive decision.
Fine, you just, if you read the basically issue 12 is, well, actually, what happened in issue 12 again? Oh, yeah, that's right. They
Last time on Sonic X.
I think, what's his name? Westwood. I can't remember what his actual rank is, but I know
Captain.
he's Westwood. Captain Westwood, the gunman.
He is a character from the show. He's Topaz's commanding off squad leader for a while.
That's right.
Yes.
And he's like, I found this cool thing, which I actually found in a previous issue, but Sonic helped me find it. And Sonic didn't want me to use it, but don't worry about that, Tails. It's fine. You're going to help me get into it.
It's like a spaceship or something.
It's like a spaceship. It's got tentacles, I think. It's weird. And then it causes chaos. And, oh no, everything's bad. And
nobody could control it. Yes. Tails in his absurdly long torso.
Yeah.
If y'all are y'all ready to jump into these?
Yes.
Anyone else have any words up top? Okay.
So we start off with the scariest thing I can think of, an M&M's Minis ad. Whoa!
I can't remember if we talked about M&M's Minis in these ads before, because the whole thing with M&M's Minis was like, what if you had M&M's but they were tiny and also they were fucking crazy? These M&M's they're going to jump out of the tube and kill you, man. Watch out. This delicious snack in a plastic tube.
I enjoyed a lot of M&M's Minis back in the day, and also collected the tubes to use for dumb things.
Yep.
So I have no room to critique.
I still enjoy M&M's Minis. It's my preferred M&M of choice.
They brought them back over here, actually. Just recently, we just got them. They're not in tubes, though. They're in little bags, but
they're
pretty nice, actually.
Yeah, our grocery store, you can get like a pound bag of it.
It's hard to explain. There is a slightly different confectionery experience with M&M's Minis. I don't quite know how to put my finger on it, but it's different from just eating plain M&M's. But
I think I remember once, either early 20s or as a teenager, I was able to just put the entire tube of down the entire tube of M&M Minis in one go, and I just had a mouthful of M&M Minis.
I'm sure I did that once.
It was a rough experience, but I made it through.
I know. When you're an adolescent, you're like, I just want to see if I can do this, and then you immediately regret it because you're like, oh, now my candy's gone. And
stress testing your body.
It all depends on how you choose to eat your M&Ms, because if you're the kind of person who enjoys a single M&M at a time, like some kind of monster, you're probably not all for the mini M&M experience, because it'll be excruciating and take too long. But if you're the kind of person who likes the M&M to become some sort of weird crispy slurry after a few moments, then you're probably going to really like those little guys.
Crispy slurry is the best way to put it.
Mini M&Ms are perfect for dumping on ice cream or other things too.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this is a great issue of Sonic X, the comic.
Yep. Oh man, I love this whole this is our new M&M podcast, because M&Ms are a big deal. So much so we've got an M&M's world in London over here. I went and my friends took me there one time. I was like, wow, I can't believe that you would care this much about M&Ms. They're all right, but this is a whole ass building full of these things.
We have one of those in New York in Times Square.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
It's really neat.
I'm not surprised you have them in America. Jeez, man.
Sonic X.
Yes.
So for our M&M's trivia.
I will say this is of regardless of the actual stories, just about all of these covers by Patrick Spaziante are delightful. I love this.
So good.
Trick-or-treating at Dr. Eggman's house, everyone's costumes. Chris has got his Green Hornet costume from the show. I just love all these little details.
Yeah.
I didn't notice how adorable Tails is holding his trick-or-treat bag as Eggman is dropping booby-trapped apples into it.
Just all exploding candy.
These little bat bots, I can't tell if those are a reference to something. They remind me more of Rouge's little love bat drones that got introduced eventually.
Oh, yeah.
They're cute.
I was gonna say they remind me of the Mega Man bats.
Yeah. I love the little like Frankenstein head on Deco. It's very good.
Yeah.
I do like that Deco, Boko, and Bokoon and Eggman have all bothered to get dressed up, and Sonic and Tails are just dressed as Sonic and Tails because
What they don't tell you is that they're actually dressed up as each other, and you can't tell.
What was that? Captain Blue and Professor Orange. All right, so we jump into this first page spread where Scarlet Garcia is reporting at the crash site of Westwood and Tails' weird alien craft, and Sonic and Sam Speed are there, and Westwood immediately violates the First Amendment by telling her to shut up.
The real enemy of state.
The president, which I will point out, says the president is in Washington, D.C., which is incorrect. Sonic and friends are on Earth, but it is not the Earth that we live on. So it should be the capital of the United Federation.
you are absolutely correct, but this is the Sonic X comics universe where also Paris exists and Las Vegas. So,
yep, and his presidential advisor Christina Cooper suffering from Comic Ella syndrome.
Yes, I was about to say, did they whitewash the president's secretary too? Because again, this is after Sonic Adventure 2, where she featured prominently. So come on, y'all.
Like Scarlet Garcia is the only human character in this issue with a darker complexion for whatever reason. Like, I'm pretty sure Danny even showed up in the previous issue and also had the same skin tone as everybody else.
Oh God, that's come on, man. Somebody was. I'm gonna blame the editor for that one. Come on, Richard Goldwater and Mike Pellerito.
Which we should probably go over the staffing of.
Oh, we
issue,
did.
Right?
Yeah, we did miss out on that. My apologies. Yes, we do want to. We always want to make sure both of these issues, I think, have the same staff.
Yes.
Writer and letterer of this one was Joe Edkin. Penciler is David Hutchinson. Inker was Jim Amash. Colors by Josh Ray. Again, we did say cover by Pat Spaziente. And yes, editor was Mike Pellerito. I believe that's how you say that name.
Yep.
And
this issue released on October 18th, 2006.
There's our old managing editor buddy, Victor Gorlick.
Slurp. We were just discussing skin tones, and I was just thinking, did you think maybe the president's secretary they were getting the colors from like Sonic Adventure 2, where she is a bit more white?
Well,
it's a different character, I know. Ted.
Yes, I don't know, because how would I would think like pulling it from Sonic Adventure 2 back in 2006 would be just as easy / complicated as pulling it from Sonic X. Like, they had a lot of these episodes on video and DVD by this point, so I just don't know, man. Like, I'm chalking it up to they just didn't care.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, both the president and the United States and Vanilla Cream, Chris, and Emerald are watching Scarlet Garcia's broadcast in the comfort of their own offices and homes, respectively. Which
yes, Emerald, because this happens between episodes 42 and 43.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of issues that feature Emerald, and you're like, well, it must have been before the incident.
We know it's after 42 because Emerald's there, and that's the episode where he shows up. And we know it's before 43 because, as we'll see later, Eggman is building all of his machines that go haywire, like electronics and stuff. So
yes, I think
gotta fit this whole 3-issue arc into that one little window.
I think there's even an editor's note about that later, which has made me laugh. But, Vanilla brings up that it sure does seem dangerous in, living this close to the epicenter of all of Sonic's adventures. And she's suggesting that her and Cream pack up and literally go anywhere else. Like if they can't make it back to their own home, that just leave and go somewhere far away from Station Square, which doesn't go over well with Cream and her friends sitting right there.
There's other words to be said about it, but when I originally made a note about that, I was like, Vanilla being an actual responsible adult in this world.
Yes, she technically is. She's just worried about her very young child and the fact that she is nearly killed every other day.
Yeah, not the first time, and it will not even be the last in comic form, because I remember this also coming up in, I believe both Archie and IDW.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's see. The CIA shows up and arrests Sonic and Westwood. This is after Sonic Adventure 2, so I mean, it's not that big a deal because, yes, this is a comic for, grade school age children, but the fact that Sonic and Tails just go along with it instead of just saying no and like blowing them off, like, I don't know, it seemed a little silly.
Well, let's not ignore a very important part of this. If you take a look at the cover, you will notice that this is approved by the Comics Code Authority. So we cannot have Sonic standing up to the CIA, I suppose.
Just cops by another name, huh?
They've got to, otherwise, they might get thrown into Lego Arkham Asylum as seen on the ad on the next page.
Now, is this an ad for a Lego game, or is it literally Lego set?
No, this is the ad for the Lego Arkham Asylum, Lego sets.
Meanwhile, Cream has started crying because her mom just said they're going to have to abandon the only friend she has in this world. And Lindsay, Chris's mom, comes home. They wrapped shooting early so she can spend a few minutes with her family.
I like the panel where she mentioned that Vanilla and Cream should go with them to their private island for a relaxing vacation. And all I see is just like, she looks like a Barbie model with just absolutely dead eyes.
I know the action line, it's kind of that, I don't know what you call it, the anime burst. Like she's like, hooray! And it is coming suspiciously from her breast region. So I know it's just the center of the panel, but that just happens to be where they are. And
the center of gravity for that panel.
Vanilla right next to her, that expression, what would you quantify that is? Mild surprise?
I believe on TF Wiki we call it dull surprise.
There you go. So she's basically Vanilla is saying like, oh, Lindsay, you've done so much for us, but we can't impose. And Lindsay's kind of blowing her off, saying like, oh, it'll be fine. Let's go on a vacation.
Lindsay's just like, girl, let's go shopping.
Well, she is a rich person, so she has no understanding of basic consequences and things that can happen, bad things that can happen, I suppose.
She's not used to being an active caretaker.
This is also, I don't know, it's just so specific, this conversation in the car, that like they've already made it to the island. They're driving to the cottage, quote unquote. These word balloons. I think I said before, Sonic X, good or bad, I hate their word balloons that have these little rounded tails instead of the points. Whose idea was that? I don't like it. But Cream and Chris are talking. She asks if Chris's dad owns the entire island, and he says yes, because he has a factory there that makes computer parts. And Cream follows up with, does everyone who lives here work for your dad? Says, oh no, there are lots of people that run stores and restaurants in the village, which is like, I don't know. I appreciate the clarification that this is not a company town run by Chris's dad.
It's not
and they're
Hershey,
being
Pennsylvania.
paid with Thorndike bucks from the company store, but
This isn't worth the paper it's printed on.
exactly. It's like, oh no, the island has an autonomous economy that is not a slave to Mr. Thorndike's whims.
It's fine that he owns an island.
I may employ most of the people on here, but I still believe in free market capitalism.
Yes, precisely.
Also, the panel, like right before they pull up to the mansion, Vanilla's expression is something else right there.
Yeah, it's slightly higher on the dull surprise scale, but still. Chris's face, what the
Can I? Okay, so this is. I think
I'm
this is a good
sorry,
spot.
folks. You'll have to look this up, but
I mean, this is just the side effect of having to draw, smaller scaled characters in the panel.
yeah, I
eyes
just
are-
might have taken another pass on those eyeballs.
His eyes are biblically as far as the east is from the west.
Yeah.
This is.
Oh, trust me, it happens to cheese a lot more.
Yep. I might have just gone with the I think some Sonic characters do this now, like as official, on model rules, is you just do the little sketchy face, the two little eyes and a mouth. You can do that for when characters are far away. We understand.
I think this allows me to get into a note that I wrote where, at least in this issue, I think 14 is a little bit more solid, but in this issue, the art just, to me in general, just looks kind of off throughout like all of this issue. It just doesn't look solid.
It's not as bad as it could be, but it's also not good either. Like, down further on the next page, there's a panel of Chris and Cream walking off towards to explore the town that looks perfectly fine. Cream is maybe a little bit too tall, but like it looks fine. The colors are fine, the shading is okay, but then the rest of the page is just not particularly good.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can distract ourselves from that with the 24 hours of SpongeBob Best Day Ever marathon. Ending with a brand new episode airing Friday, November 10th at 8 p.m. 7 Central.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh, wow. Yes, I remember that too.
That was the one that ended with the episode Best Day Ever, where they spent the entire 24 hours counting down the fan voted 100 best episodes of SpongeBob. For the record, the number one episode was Karate Island. Incorrect.
What? That's bullshit. I'm sorry, not to be a loser on social media, but
that episode had only aired 6 months prior, and I have to assume that there was some, there was some funny business with some of the choices and which ones were the best. Like any list that puts Band Geeks at number 38 is objectively incorrect. Everybody knows this.
I was just talking to a friend of mine who I don't think is much younger than me, but I literally remember Karate Island being the episode of SpongeBob where I was like, I don't think I'm going to watch SpongeBob anymore. Like literally one of the last brand new episodes I remember watching on TV and thinking, this doesn't hit like it used to.
Rest
that
in
is
peace,
so
Past
weird.
Marita.
Yes.
SpongeBob is a show that I know exists. Sorry, no, it's not me being British this time. It's just being, I guess, of the age and also British, where I wasn't watching cartoons like that at the time.
Yeah.
So
but it's us complaining that a thing we used to watch as a kid is not as good in the years later as it was when we were watching as a kid. That is a thing that you can inherently relate to.
Oh no, absolutely.
A thing that
just
is
one of those
still
things where
going.
people. SpongeBob is one of those things where I see people talking about it in the sort of same way that you talk about old Simpsons episodes, or at least I would. I'm just like, I bet that would be really cool to have that nostalgia for that, but don't.
Yeah.
Did you know J.K. Simmons is the voice of the yellow M&M?
Yes.
I did. And Billy West is the red M&M. I think they've both been doing it for quite a while.
I think
Since
the late
90s.
90s.
Yeah, I think even some of the 80s commercials are them.
Well, maybe Chris would be more of a SpongeBob fan if he played this fun game to win a bunch of SpongeBob products from Best Buy and other SpongeBob retailers.
My God, man. Remember when there were other SpongeBob retailers?
I remember being a young lad going into the mall at the SpongeBob kiosk next to the Auntie Anne's pretzels.
I tell you what, I mean, people love them SpongeBob video games, like, so much that's why so many of them have gotten remasters and they're making new ones. So I guess they did something right with those. Let's see. Back to Sonic X. Again, government overreach. Sonic and Tails are being interrogated without their attorneys present. And they both agree that Westwood is full of shit and is trying to get them, trying to blame everything on them.
I do like the split screen panel of half of Sonic's face, half of Tails' face. That just looks good.
Yeah, that's a solid one. That looks really good.
Contrary to what I said earlier about the arches being off, that's actually solid art right there.
This is a new comic character, General, I'm going to say Rotosh or Rotok. This general who is standing in front of Topaz, saying it's hard to believe that Sonic and Tails would turn against us now. And Westwood pulls out the aliens card, saying, we can't trust them.
They don't look like us.
Yeah, and it goes to show that, once again, Captain Westwood is an American, and Americans don't understand that in Sonic's basic lore from the original Sonic story of him being the spirit of a fighter pilot, Sonic's whole thing is that he will never betray you. So obviously, yes, this is the Americans infecting Sonic's actual character. I'm just screwing around.
Sorry, people are going to take you seriously and get really mad. We're just complaining about people on Twitter. It's not about
it's mainly me. I'm just read something and I was just like, listen, that's fine, but come on.
No, I know what you mean, and we're obviously not going to go into specifics here, but no, that also bothers me when people are like, oh, let's look into the history of Sonic the Hedgehog from the very beginning, and then by the end of it really comes across as like, and here's what those stupid pig dog American bookers came up for Sonic. And they're wrong.
They're wrong, and they can't, and you Americans can't possibly understand the concept of whimsy and joy in your life, as opposed to the gentle storytelling of the Sonic manuals. God bless, praise be to Yuji Naka, the original creator of Sonic, who's never done anything wrong.
Especially not
even pinata advertisements.
Meanwhile, back on the island town, Chris and Cream are pointing out that nobody's there. They go into the ice cream shop, and Chris says it's fine for them to go behind the counter and make their own sundae, because he knows the owners, and he'll just leave money on the counter for the disgusting help to pick up with their dirty fingers when they're all done. And they do make
slightly paraphrasing, but
yeah, just slightly. It just reminds me of the scuba diving episode where Chris offers to pay, and the guy tells him like, "Oh no, the president set up a special government-funded tax fund just to cover Sonic's expenses." And I'm like, "What? Let that kid use his credit cards, jeez." It's such a silly detail in that episode.
What's the point of having a rich best friend if you can't get your rich best friend to spend money on you and advance the plot?
Spend his daddy's money.
Which is actually the government's money.
Yes. I know we were vamping that before that this is pre it's not here's how I'll phrase it. It's pre Elon Musk exposing how fucking stupid billionaires and lobbyists really are. But Chris's dad is definitely not only like a tech billionaire, but definitely gets like 90% of his funding from government projects, which ties back into this book in part 2 at the end when he calls the president for a favor. In the giant villa that Lindsay called their summer cottage, she is showing Vanilla around her movie prop room, keepsakes from her various films. And wouldn't you know it, as she's trying to tell Vanilla that her and Cream are perfectly safe living with them, they point out the hourglass from episode 19 of Sonic X that is supposed to imprison the ghosts in their resting place.
Whoops.
Oh, whoopsie. I think she just said, oh, it's just an old prop from one of my movies. Oh, and here's the one line that got a laugh from me where Vanilla says, it must be exciting to be an actress to Lindsay. And she goes, it beats cleaning sewers. And I'm like, okay, that was pretty funny.
Unfortunately, Chris and Cream have eaten too much ice cream, but they've got another big problem. And I'm not just talking about Cheese's incredibly wide eyes.
The owner, Mr. and Mrs. Kinney, the ice cream owners, are possessed by ghosts.
Oh no, they've entered Silent Hill Zone.
They are saying in creepy ghost word balloons, join us. Join us.
That Chris face is like, woof.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's really well.
The reaction one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's pretty funny, at least.
But they've all got like the eyes and the mouths that Amy had in that one episode of Sonic X where she was possessed, and that image that got a lot of mileage on the internet, I think, is that picture of possessed Amy.
And I want to give credit to where it's due. Like the possessed faces and the ghost faces in just Sonic media in general are really, like, they're effective. Like, me as a grown adult, I'm not just like, I'm too scared to go to the next page, but like they look really good and creepy.
Yeah. They look good here too. That is obviously what the artist is pulling from. Which makes me think Chris's big idea is to throw ice cream at them when they should know from that episode you gotta violently karate chop them in the back of the neck and the ghost will come out.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Maybe they're hoping that they're all lactose intolerant. Oh no, the ghosts are crapping themselves.
It's everywhere. They flee out the front door only to find that the entire town has now come out of the shadows to Chris and Cream remember these same ghosts from the Sonic X TV show, pointed out by this editor's note as well. And Chris remembers that he needs to get the talisman, the hourglass thingamajig, and don't put the wrong side up this time. And of course, Chris says, I sure wish Sonic was with us, but he's in jail.
Yes.
Sorry, Chris Thorndike is allowed to say, I sure wish Sonic was here. Unlike Tails the Fox, it's always weird when he says that.
Yes.
Yes.
No, Tails is also with Sonic in jail. No, and in fact,
fine.
they're being put into the... No, it's right next door to Eggman and the other robots. Which is just, like I said, so weird that they're just like, okay, I guess we're going to jail again.
And they just put them in, like, oversized black and white striped shirts, as opposed to, like, an
which they will rip
It's...
the sleeves off of in the next issue.
I noticed that. They've got to show off their guns, apparently.
I know. Poor Tails just looks like he's wearing a little dress. It's not...
Yeah.
It's going to look even more like that next time.
This one panel of Sonic where he says no prison can hold us, he looks like he's just wearing like a bell or like a cylinder. It doesn't even flare out at the bottom.
You know what it looks like? It looks like the artist drew the art first, and then the colorist was asked to put them in the inker and colorist put them in prison smocks after the fact, which now I'm going to say is 100% what happened. Because I mean, look at how bad the little stripes look on Tails' arms, and the fact that the shirt is going straight into their gloves. Oh yeah, these were drawn not with them in prison outfits first. We're breaking the story right here. And then, of course, this whole issue culminates with, I even wonder if the artist drew this first, the last page where Chris and Cream make their way back to the villa and find that both of their mothers have been possessed. And then you get like we said, a very good creepy shot of them also possessed by the ghosties.
Yeah.
And it does look suspiciously better than all of the other art in the book.
Yeah.
And we end on a pair of ads for Zoo Tycoon 2, Marine Mania, and Over the Hedge on DVD. This is not the ad I would have chosen to advertise this.
Getting goatsied by the turtle from over the hedge. Thanks. Sonic X issue 14. This was the following month in 2006.
November 15th, 2006.
Yes, I would say it's still fine to have a Halloween story afterwards.
Yep.
Not in full American Thanksgiving mode yet.
Not quite.
Another really solid cover from Patrick Spaziante. All the characters look great. Front and center, King Boom Boo doing that one look he can do with them big old eyes. Exactly.
We get the exact same Viva Pinata ad, but now on one page instead of two, because I guess Microsoft didn't pay quite as much.
It's that unicorn or pony pinata.
His name is Hudson Horstachio. Thank you very much.
And he was voiced by Dan Green, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm
Dan Green.
The heart of the confetti.
So we jump straight back to where we left off with our Kid Appeal heroes screaming and running from their possessed matriarchs.
That's a good way to put it.
They are running through the house trying to get the hell out of there. They find the missing cook and butler that are not Ella and Tanaka. I can't remember. I think we do at the end see them not possessed to see how they compare.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they try to leave the house, they're just accosted by a crowd of possessed villagers.
The entire town now. So they pull a Resident Evil 4 and head up into the attic.
Because that's not frustrating at all.
No.
And then the action is interrupted by a vertical ad for HeroScape, which I don't remember what this is. It was
a tabletop game.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this ad is in 3D.
Oh, it is.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness. Supposed to put your glasses on.
Too bad I don't have any.
I think I've still got my Arkham Asylum 3D glasses somewhere.
I was about to say, does anybody here have them?
I remember that.
do have one.
Or your 3D glasses for playing Sonic Generations on the Xbox 360 in 3D.
Oh, yeah.
I got a basic pair of 3D glasses around here somewhere that came with my copy of Brave New World, the dystopian novel. I don't know why. It's around here somewhere.
So you can read the text in 3D.
That's... Yeah. As someone who has read Brave New World, I also do not understand why. Did they mean to include them in like a DVD copy of They Live instead? was some like executive trying to say, Brave New World, it's kind of like They Live, Roddy Piper, he's in the book too, right? But before, so poor Cream, Cheese, and Chris hide in a dusty boudoir, and just before they're discovered by the ghosts, they are drawn away by a mysterious voice telling them that nightfall is nearly upon us. It is time to serve your master.
All in lowercase.
Yes. There's those M&M's minis again. They're crazy, folks. Watch out.
Slightly different ad than last time because there's so much you can do with M&M's minis, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Oh, now I'm actually seeing this ad.
They want you to cut out these and decorate your M&M's minis too.
No, they want you to cut them out. They cut them out and turn them into goals. So you can flick M&M's minis into each other's goals and compete to whatever. It's
I see.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Like
Sorry,
weird.
It's all on this like rusted metal looking machine. It just makes me think of BioShock. So
yeah.
Yeah. BioShock or whatever.
Would you kindly buy more M&M's minis?
A man chooses and M&M obeys.
Hey, speaking of billionaires, that's what we should do to all of them. Hey-o! So, Chris remembers he has a cell phone and calls Uncle Chuck, not for help, not in a panic saying like, oh my fucking God, Grandpa Ghost, just, where's Sonic? And he's like, I'm sorry, he's in jail,
I got some bad news for you, kid.
Nothing we can do on our end. Oh, okay.
The inevitable happened. Sonic is in jail where he belongs.
He couldn't outrun the IRS forever.
If I had a nickel for every
Like Chuck couldn't, I don't know, take the X tornado to where they are and help them evacuate, or he doesn't have like a murder drone lying around.
Grandpa, don't you know Professor Egad? Wrong series.
I like the little note at the bottom. The attack happened in issue number 12, but if you believe Sonic and Tails attacked the city, then you didn't read that issue.
Yeah, children.
Some children.
And also, you're an idiot, because Sonic and Tails would never do that. Sonic would never betray you.
Also, the beginning of this page where Chris and Cream are talking to each other, while we were reading this earlier in the week, we were like looking at these two panels and kind of joking about just how this is like definitely like just the basic, like what GameBuddy said earlier about like, I'm Chris and this is how I'm feeling. Because the dialogue is
very on the nose.
Yeah, like Cream says, Chris, no matter what my mother decides, I want you to know I never want to leave you or your house. And Chris says, I don't want you to leave either, Cream. You are a very good friend.
Yeah, you are a very good friend. My name is Christopher Fortnite. I am a rich boy.
Avatar: The Last Airbender, the video game.
There it is.
Oh, I remember getting
the
that from
bad
Blockbuster.
one.
Oh, is that bad?
I assume they were all bad.
Well, there's no achievements in this one.
Yeah. I know I was just saying how those SpongeBob games seemingly held up pretty well, but I mean, this was the age of like everything gets a licensed game and they are terrible.
Thanks, THQ.
Your uncle or grandma gets them to you for Christmas because your parents said, well, they like that Chinese cartoon on Nickelodeon. And Avatar: The Last Airbender, the video game, available on your Xbox, Sony PlayStation 2, Nintendo GameCube, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, and the Wii. The Wii was out by this time. That's crazy.
Oh, wait, it's also on PSP.
Oh, yeah, I missed that one. Yep. Available on PlayStation 2 and PSP, PlayStation Portable System.
Oh, yeah, I see that there, yeah. I was going to say, how have we not had, like, a stellar Avatar game yet? Like, it's...
Man, everybody thought it was going to be that one that Platinum worked on, and it was not.
Yeah. As far as I recall, that one's not bad. It's just, like, not particularly great.
Yep.
Yeah. That was that era where, you know, a couple of Platinum-esque games came out and they're like, well, it's not the worst, but it is not living up to the legacy of Platinum.
Platinum's like, we got to make a buck.
Exactly. Let's do a Ninja Turtles.
By the way, I actually did watch Avatar: The Last Airbender. Good show.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, good show. I haven't watched it in quite a while, but I would think at least the original Avatar holds up. I don't know about Korra.
I watched both that and Korra maybe 3-4 years ago. I think they both hold up pretty well. Meanwhile, in prison...
In prison.
I would think this scene was kind of cute because it literally is talking about, oh, Eggman and Deco and Boko, they're all repairing, they're shaving time off their sentence by repairing all these appliances. And yes, it's going to tie into, I forget what episode
43.
number that is, 43. And even Sonic, says he's going stir crazy, but I mean, it's just the cruise episode again. In fact, I think that one expression is heavily referenced from that episode.
You're probably right.
It was different, that's a really good episode of Sonic X, the one where they take the Alaskan cruise or whatever, because it's so funny that they put Sonic in that situation because he literally can't escape. But here he's just in a jail cell where he could if he wanted to, He's
got enough of a PR problem already.
Yeah, not to spoil the issue, but this kind of comes to nothing because Chris's dad just calls the president and says, let Sonic out or I won't give you spaceships anymore. And he goes, okay, sir. Just lets Sonic come out to save the day.
But it is cool that Sonic is in this situation having a very human moment, which is, and Sonic has a lot of those in Sonic X, the actual show.
Absolutely,
to be honest.
yeah.
The Sonic in Sonic X is actually a character. Sometimes he seems a little bit distant, but he is a real character, and he's not just some force of nature. That's the personification of all that is good and nice in the world.
Like, joking and teasing aside, like, that is why I like Sonic from Sonic X, because he is I would not say he is a secondary protagonist, but he's a co-protagonist to Chris, which, for better or worse, you see Sonic through Chris's eyes as like a normal, a regular human being who does not know who Sonic is until he gets to know him. And so, yes, you do see those aspects of Sonic's personality, like, when he's just kind of lazing about and just straight up says like, nah, I don't want to go on an adventure. I want to take a nap and then go do something else. And then, like I said, when he's trapped on a cruise ship, he kind of starts to lose his cool, his famous laid back, cool demeanor when he, is robbed of his complete freedom that he's used to.
Yeah, as opposed to the very level-headed Chris Thorndike who suggests we should hit our mom with golf clubs.
Yes. I know, doesn't... Well, Cream says, I can't hit my mother with that. And Chris is, well, we can't go out there empty-handed. He's not even saying, like, it won't come to that. He's just saying, come on, Cream.
You said it, Yosuke.
Yeah. Charlie Tanaka. Yes, we get a quick recap, another reference to the episode 19, letting them, they are going to look for the talisman for the ghosts. They're sneaking out and get jump scared by a ghost hiding in a suit of armor, and Cheese gets possessed, but I feel like you could have drawn that a little bit better than, looks like the ghost is just rubbing its face on Cheese's tummy there.
I'd argue the possession makes Cheese look more normal.
Yes. Then you can draw them eyes as big and on the side of Cheese's head as you want.
Yeah.
But they do find the talisman down in Lindsay's prop collection, right in front of what looks to be the arm from Terminator 2, a Cthulhu statue, that weird crystal from that episode of Sonic Sat AM from the Forbidden Zone, and an Easter Island head.
And the Sword and the Stone.
And the Sword and the Stone.
And an ad for Cartoon Network Racing.
Yeah.
Yes, for the Nintendo DS, which, again, I'm sure was from the Game Factory. I know it was not, probably not a good game.
There was also a PS2 version with more characters.
I am, of course, of the age where I did watch all these cartoons. So we loved What a Cartoon.
My understanding is there was basically characters from the original 7 cartoons minus Ed, Edd, and Eddy. So
interesting.
So Dexter, Powerpuffs, Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken, Weasel, and Courage.
That's another one I haven't watched in a long time, Cow and Chicken, and I know it was probably literally like what if we had our own Ren and Stimpy? I do remember one of the funniest jokes, even as a kid, understanding why it was funny, was when Chicken and his two horribly ugly human friends,
Earl and Flem, who are also playable in the racing game.
Okay, thank you.
I had to look this up.
They do like a Mission Impossible break into the girls' bathroom to see why it's such a big deal. And he walks past the sanitary napkin and tampon dispenser and says over the radio, "You guys, they got cigars in here." And that is absolutely a hilarious joke. I think that's really good.
You do say it's kind of like they were doing their own Ren and Stimpy, and in a way it was, but I don't think it was just that cynical. It really was people who had like a good grasp on weird, gross character designs. And it was basically starring Charlie Adler as the main character.
Oh, yeah.
So, of course it's going to be good. Like...
I think there was, because you remember the pilot, I think maybe this kind of got discarded in some of the main series. I think it was still there. There was a bit of a like satire of, I want to say, like just the fake like 1950s American culture, because the pilot is, the red guy is literally the devil.
He's the devil, yep.
Yes, he says, "Hi, I'm the devil," and drags Chicken to hell for smoking cigarettes. And so there is that big, like, oh, it's like this old PSA, like kids shouldn't smoke. And, they just took it to the extreme of, or you go to hell.
Yep. You go to hell before you die.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just remember it finding, and yes, it is hard not to just crack up that Charlie Adler is doing the three main voices on that show, and they're so fucking
They're so
funny.
distinct and they're so good. Like Charlie Adler, his Sonic connection being the voice of Snively in Saturday.
True.
Just so you have that, folks. And if you're a big Snively fan, I think there actually are legitimately people who are of that a particular opinion. But yeah, like Charlie Adler, such a distinctive voice.
I don't even know where to go from there. Except Chris is about to have his flesh stripped from his bones by these horrible ghosts when Cream runs over with the talisman and screams for them to leave him alone. And they do. The ghosts seem to be scared by the talisman. So Chris takes up...
This is one of my biggest issues with the thing, is that if you look at the ghosts, the way that the comic is printed, you know, they have black teeth like in the episode, but it's so hard to see a lot of the time, so it just looks like they have these big gaping mouths.
Yeah, and that's we are reading scans of this physical comic. It might I didn't dig out. I'm pretty sure I own these issues. It's probably easier to tell on the physical thing. I think this was pre digital coloring and whatnot, so you're still dealing with ink and paper masters, but I agree. The contrast could use some tweaking.
It's just in that one image in particular where it's very bad, but it does make me think of anglerfish and their big, horrible, gaping balls.
Yeah.
Which, hey, I want to take this opportunity to say I love the little ghost designs that are in Sonic as a whole, like from the little ghosts from Sonic 3 and Knuckles to the ones from Sonic Adventure 2. I think they're like a unique take on what is maybe based on the boos from Mario, but their own thing.
Well, they are
I
called
like them
boos.
a lot. Yes, they literally are. Like, I guess there's no copyright on that, but
yeah. But the thing is they haven't made a fuckable boo in the Sonic universe yet. Unlike, as I've discovered, many Paper Mario fans believe.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen them hanging off of booze. People, different strokes for different folks.
Boy, is it.
So Chris puts on the full armor of God and takes up the sword of the spirit.
Sorry, it is just an image of Chris Thorndike with a shield, with a sword and shield.
It's a very powerful image.
And he looks like he knows how to handle those, actually.
Yeah.
I know he's getting ready to do a swift roll. He's not over encumbered with that long shield.
My man is channeling Link because he's literally holding the sword left-handed.
Twilight Princess just came out when this issue did, so...
Oh, interesting.
True.
I like to think maybe, though, he's probably... No, wait, no. I'm thinking of the Sonic F version of Chris Thorndike, who wouldn't have played Golden Axe because he had a Nintendo.
Yeah, Chris doing some axe battler shit.
Yep. So Chris and Cream stumble outside and wonder where they should go, only to see a horrific demonic light shining out of the dark clouds right over the tennis courts, I believe.
It's a pretty good shot.
It's the Marvel Skybeam.
Yeah. Oh no, we gotta get the MacGuffin to close the portal.
If 4 Kids Knuckles were there, he'd be able to be like, that used to be Chaos Control.
Oh, here's the Batman Lego set. It's Penguin and Freeze, the best of friends.
Invading the Batcave.
Oh no, they're gonna steal that giant penny. I need this penny. I need this penny to save my wife, Batman.
I need this penny for laundry.
I love that they're doxing them on here a little bit. Sorry, I always remember that the Penguin's got a really normal sounding, what kind of normal sounding name is Oswald Cobblepot. And sorry, Hare, receding.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Eyes black with monocle.
Mr. Freeze, real name. Now, is it pronounced Victor Freeze, but it's spelled like
Yes.
F-R-I-E-S, yes.
Okay, because that's how it works. Okay.
Eyes red with goggles.
Height 43 millimeters in cold dome.
Oh, you can't count the dome, Mr. Freeze.
But then I'll never be tall enough to ride the rides. Equipment. While the Penguin uses an assortment of trick umbrellas to commit his foul, F-O-W-L, crimes.
Oh, zinger.
Mr. Freeze prefers the icy simplicity of his powerful freeze gun.
He freezes.
Wait, he does?
Sometimes.
Shocker.
No, that's Spider-Man.
Yes.
I saved the bit.
I'll follow you to the ends of the earth.
God, what did I fucking love that line? That's speaking of talking off topic now, shows that don't hold up. Spider-Man Animated is not a good show. It is wondrously well voice acted.
Yes.
I gotta hope it's next in line after X-Men 97.
Yes,
Oh,
get
man,
like
please.
a Spider-Man 98, or I can't remember when it ended. Because Christopher Daniel Barnes, man, he is still just my Spider-Man. Like, there are a lot of great Spider-Man performances. He's still really good.
The thing I was just thinking about it is that would be great, but Sony would want a piece of that pie, so it might be a little tricky to finagle legally. But
the reason it's not going to happen is because they've already got another Spider-Man TV show in the works that's based on MCU, so that's going to be holding it up.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hey, and it's multiverse. Hey, everybody. Hey, Spider-Man, it's just, I mean, Spider-Verse is good, but also, can we just have a fucking Spider-Man thing? Like, with Spider-Man doing Spider-Man things, Miles, Peter, I don't give a fuck. Can I just see them doing Spider-Man things and not fall through a shiny portal and there's 14 other bajillion Spider-Man? Wow, that is a nice beard.
Isn't it wild, though, that we've had our Sonic multiverse show and it wasn't actually a multiverse show?
It never was.
We could even get mad. We could never get mad about it in the way that we do with other things because it wasn't one. So
no,
we can just get mad that it's shit.
I can't remember if the press release used multiverse, but I 100% guarantee you that after Man of Action pitched like, and we'll do the fucking pirates and shit, okay, Mr. Sega Man? And they were like, sounds good. And then when the show was, they revealed it, they're like, people, and by people, they mean other movie executives sure do seem to be doing multiverse things. Let's call our Sonic thing that, even though it's not at all. Whatever.
And we're never going to get that, sadly. We really aren't. And
no.
I mean, like, I know the concept is probably going to be driven into the ground. It already has been by now. But it's still... Sonic always takes stuff when it's like, stop being cool and make it...
Yes.
Let's be real. We lost that chance when Boom ended because that was like the one...
Yeah.
That was the one Sonic permutation that would have had any chance of meeting main Sonic.
Yeah, I mean, they did technically cross over into the comics, so...
Yep. Yeah, we'll get there.
I mean, I was about to say comics are the closest we'll get, and now it would have to be a fan comic with, here's Sat AM and Adventures, and that might actually be the one thing where I would want a little bit of, if it was an official thing, some Sega oversight, because you never know. You never know how it depends on the fan are going to write those continuities.
And they're going to bring in STC Sonic, and he's going to be really horrible and mean to Tails all the time, and they're not going to understand him. And then they'll bring in Sonic X Sonic, and he's going to be really distant and cool and not actually a real person.
No, it would be the exact English dub, and they would have the doo-doo and right behind him.
That, or they just worship the ground he walks on like Tommy Oliver.
All the Sonics are hanging out. STC Sonic comes through the mysterious portal and just, it goes.
I'm Fleetway.
It's Fleetway the Hedgehog, and then he turns into evil Super Sonic, and he's the villain.
Welcome to our special episode where we spend half the episode talking about the comic and half the episode about anything.
We're just making fun of Sonic fans again. I gotta cut this out.
Especially the part where I'm about to say that we have to make a future episode where it is we write the multiverse crossover.
I was gonna say I kind of want to do that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, add that to the list. God, this stupid over the hedge ad. The Wanda Sykes skunk is staring at me with her dead eyes. Chris and Cream, armed to the teeth, finally make it to the tennis court, and it's King Boom Boom, Lord of Hell,
who's just like, "Come, my minions. There is much work to be done!" There's an exclamation mark at the end. It's the lowercase. Did they intend to put this in a font that like automatically capitalized it, or is it just I don't know. It's creepier if it's lowercase.
I'm also not big on the fonts used in the Sonic X book, to be perfectly honest.
Maybe if it was like in Comic Sans, it'd be fine, because
Yeah.
actually make me think of Sans the Skeleton, and that would be funny.
Or Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Back in jail.
Can anyone tell what book Eggman is reading in jail? You can only see you are in something. I can't tell if it was ever supposed to be a full title. I was just curious.
The History of Burning Man.
Yeah, maybe. It could be. I'm going to assume it's like a repair manual, so he can see how to take the compressor out of a fridge and replace it.
I
with
think
a
he might have been
brain.
seen reading that book in the issue 12, maybe.
Oh, it's a journal, because he mentions he was reading
Yes,
his
it's
grandfather's
journal.
It's
journal.
Gerald's journal.
Yeah, Gerald Robotnik gets mentioned in that one. I forgot to say that. Yeah, so kind of cool.
In the
kinda
shaggy flesh.
Cool. Christ. Yeah, we're in a world where that trailer finally came out. So
Yeah. Deco and Boko are playing chess. I'm okay. Am I giving the artist too much credit in that they are playing with pieces that are scavenged from like loose parts of the things they've been playing, or they just couldn't be arsed to draw a chess set?
I like to think it's the former, because that's more fun, and it reminds me of an episode of Bottom with Rick Mayall and Aid Edmondson where they were just using...
The piece second from bottom left is a little suspect.
Wait, the next panel. Why is Sonic wearing cufflinks?
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, they have torn the sleeves off of their prison
90s.
potato sacks. But I wonder if the artist just got mixed up. Those are the same gloves that Cream wears.
Yeah.
I wonder if they were just got confused.
I appreciate that Sonic's like, isn't there anything to do around here? We're in prison, Sonic. We're not supposed to be having fun. Actually, I'm finding it quite relaxing. I should have been locked up years ago.
Sonic F-ass line.
Yeah.
Cream decides to summon all of her courage and addresses the King Boom Boo directly. And before we can see if, once again, Chris and Cream's flesh is stripped from their bones, their sinews scattered to the wind, we have the Sonic Checklist. Available now, the first 4 issues of Sonic X. Send $6 or $7 Canadian to Archie Comic Publications.
I like the tiny Robotnik there saying, remember, the more Sonic comics you have, the more friends you have.
I know, it's a little chibi Eggman button that I think showed up on a couple of other comic covers. They just plopped in here.
Pay $8.99 for all of the Knuckles issues from 1997.
No, thank you.
Oh.
This clip art of Sonic Adventure 2 Knuckles saying you're only a collector if you have a collection.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
common sense.
Anyway, so Cream asks Mr. Ghost why he's doing this, and King Boom Boo explains that his sleep has been disturbed and he wants to walk among the living again. Once he's possessed enough people, he will be able to cross into the living world.
Again, I really hate the way that the printing quality on these reprints makes those mouths look.
You miss out on those teeth, those toothy grins.
Yeah.
And then, okay, this really bothers me because if you remember correctly in the last issue, the whole crux is that Vanilla wants to either get back to their world as soon as they can or leave their friends in Station Square in order to be more safe, to avoid, Robotnik's whatever. And Cream and all of her friends saying like, well, it's more important that we stay together and protect each other and be there for each other if something does happen than to, just abandon each other. But here Cream tells this ghost, but this isn't your world anymore, Mr. Ghost. And Chris says, yeah, you should stay in your own world. Like, boy, in about less than 10 episodes of the show, you're really gonna be have egg on your face for that one, because I don't know, it's just a weird line that sticks out. They could have phrased that differently.
He learned his politics from his dad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true.
Okay, I will give constructive criticism and say they should have said something like, but you're hurting all these people in order to get what you want, and that's not right.
Yeah.
You know? And not
Yeah, you
just
should go back to hell where you belong.
And then before the next page, no, it's Lightning McQueen. He'll fuck your mom.
Look at his face.
I've heard that original Cars game is actually okay.
Oh, it's a video game. Okay,
I remember playing it.
Available on Xbox 360 and Wii this fall.
Oh, I remember playing a GameCube one where you could like just drive around like the town and the surrounding area, and it was fun to just have an open world-esque kind of thing.
Cars is one of those things. I never actually watched the movie other than seeing a few clips of it. It's one of those ones which I feel like people tend to like ironically. Like, of all the Pixar films, it's the one that people don't genuinely engage with. It's sort of... maybe I'm just talking about people online. I'm sure there are lots of people who grew up with it, who love that movie, who are really into anthropomorphic cars, but...
I think there is a little bit of Shrek syndrome where it's like, oh yeah, Cars, it's so silly. I definitely don't like them anymore. I remember seeing the second one and thinking it was really bad, and by the time the third one out, I'm like, I don't like any of these, and they were made by a big, ugly pervert, so I don't have to pretend.
I enjoyed... I mean, the second Cars movie is bad. It's just bad. But I enjoy the first one just because it's a family movie that my family actually enjoys watching, and so that's special to me. Mm-hmm. And then there was like themes in the third movie that I enjoyed about like moving on to the next generation and stuff like that. But I
have heard that third one is actually pretty okay.
Yeah. But in my opinion, I think a lot of people don't like the Cars movies just because I think before that we got The Incredibles, and that was the point where we're like, okay, Pixar can animate humans and make them look good. And then we went to anthropomorphic cars, and everybody had a piss fit about like, oh, I want more humans in my animation.
You know those people aren't Sonic fans.
Yeah. And again, this didn't crop up until the other Cars movies, and I think it was people realizing that, like... And not just the stupid dorky, like, oh, there's a car pope. Does that mean there was a car Jesus? And, those things. But it was just like, okay, this is very obviously John Lasseter's, like, pet project because he just fucking loves toy cars. Looking at Pixar now, it's, like, kind of gotten worse. But they just didn't have the emotional construction, like, pillars that other Pixar movies had. Like, it's just, the first one has a very like, oh, a small town that's being like, dying because of like development, and you don't know like how are these people supposed to make a living or continue to exist. And then the second one came out. It's just like, what if James Bond, but with Larry the Cable Guy's everybody's favorite Tow Mater. And then, like I said, I've heard the third one like actually brings stuff back in, but also it's hard not to say like, yes, every Pixar and Disney property is merchandise to hell, but you can't tell me you don't come up with the Cars series and think we're going to make so much fucking money from these toys. Because I was working in a Toys R Us when like I think right before the second Cars came out, entire aisles right in front of the Hot Wheel that was just Cars toys. So I think some of it's just like a little bit of cynicism for like, that part.
I think Cars is still like very big and marketable.
And the Sonic tie-in is that Roger Craig Smith was in the Cars spinoff Disney's Planes as one of the main characters.
Oh, so that was real then. I do remember that being announced. I don't know if it actually happened. It happened, okay.
Now, Disney's Planes, which was not made with Pixar, now that is your, like, we need more characters to make toys out of. These fucking stupid kids can't get enough. Where were we? The...
oh, yeah, the Sonic comic, yeah.
So King Boom Boo explains that he can't just rest in their world because it's become too noisy.
And we learn it's because that their ancient burial grounds were probably bowled over to make a tennis court.
Yeah. I don't quite get how this works, because it sounds like King Boom Boo traveled with the talisman, but also
they say as much in the last issue.
Yeah, but also, the whole burial ground thing, maybe.
I just don't think the writer cared very much. Yeah. Just now saying that the ancient burial ground is under this tennis court instead of back at that castle. And of course, but then they realize like to be able to rest, they promise to dig up the tennis court and make it off limits, so nice and quiet. But also they need someone to put the talisman back on its original pedestal before sunrise. And that's halfway across the world. Who could do that? Oh, it's Sonic. It's Sonic and Tails. Yeah. We talked about how the Grandpa Chuck called Chris's dad, who called the president and said, "You work for me, bitch," and released Sonic and Tails. So Sonic sprints across the vast ocean and makes it to the pedestal. I do like, it's a cute line where Chris says, "Make sure you put it right side up, Sonic." And he says, "Don't worry, it's sunny side up all the way." Which I guess is like a half pun.
Can't believe Sonic's making jokes.
We should kill him with hammers.
But like, there is something funny about the fact that King Boom Boo is causing all this chaos, and like, well, we could just put it back. And he's like, "Oh yeah, actually, that'd be really great. Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
cool."
He is surprisingly agreeable.
Destroy humanity, open the gates of hell, take over the earth.
Ones, that would be very considerate of you.
Whoa, we got Peter Cullen for this episode.
It's just like, "Return the talisman by dawn, and I will release the humans, and we ghosts will return to our resting place."
I know he has a couple of lines in the show where he's pretending to be Sonic, but it is impossible for me to think of a speaking voice for King Boom Boo when those are the noise he makes.
Yeah, for real.
Chris's dad is there, says he's glad his wife's back to normal, and she says, "We're going to have to dig up the tennis court, replace it with a garden." And finally, we get the Vanilla is finally convinced. She says, "Oh, you and Chris were very brave, Cream. I'm proud of you." "Oh, we still have to move away from Station Square?" "Oh, no, dear. I would not want to move away from our very good friends who would risk their lives to save us. We all need each other, period."
Our very good friends.
Well, it's actually an exclamation point.
Sonic gives a thumbs up, which is pretty much like, he's giving it like a thumbs up emote.
Yeah.
Yes, he was not even present for that conversation that Vanilla and Cream were leaving. He's just like, "Yeah, what you said."
"I'm really supportive of this because I am the personification of all that is good in the world."
"I'm a fairy-like creature." "I'm sorry. People are going to get mad. I'm sorry. Listener, this is not about you. I promise."
Unless it is.
Yeah. Tails is still too tall. Look at him.
Yeah, he is.
It's all stretched out.
The end. Zoon Tycoon 2 and the Ant Bully the video game.
That's a weird f***ing movie.
That Zoo Tycoon advert, Joy, the orca crashing. Oh no, the orca crashing through something, just like in Sonic. That's our connection.
That's the connection.
But yeah, Ant Bully, that exists.
So I feel like we've already led into like these issues aren't particularly good. I mean, they're not bad. If you were reading through the whole series, I wouldn't say skip these, but it's just kind of disappointing after we had such fun with El Gran Gordo to just, realize this was the early bit of the Sonic X comics. I mean,
like, on one hand, I think it's interesting to see them actually like really building on continuity and plot points established in the show itself, as opposed to like the El Gran Gordo stuff, which is really its own thing that's just happened to, also have the Sonic X characters in it. And I can respect them for wanting to try and make a story that builds on what's been established in the show. But on the other hand, I just don't think there's a lot of substance to this particular two-parter.
I feel like I think it would be silly for me to try and say that the entire Sonic X comic was not taking a lot of its inspiration from the English version of the show, because I'm sure that was what they had to go off on as far as referencing and whatnot. Like, it was literally only until very recently that the subtitled version was legally available. But like, stuff like El Gran Gordo and some of the other stories we visited feel like it fits more into Sonic X as a whole, both the original version and the English dub that it occasionally like references. This just feels like a 4Kids dub episode of the show, which I mean, I'm not a huge fan of at all. And it's just very forgettable, and despite it's cool that it is building off of previous episodes of the show, I just didn't really like it.
No, this is all like what's weird is this is actually comes right after a kind of fun little sort of 15th anniversary Sonic story arc that goes for 2 issues, where they basically get sucked into the world of Sonic 1, more or less, and that's pretty fun.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
But and this comic does get better. That's the thing which I take from this, just not immediately, because I'm just like, oh, what happened in issue 15? Surely it's better. No, it's the one with all the tracing. Just looking at it now, it's all the tracing in the world.
Wah, wah.
Well, I'm sure we will get to it eventually because, Christmas episode.
Oh,
yes, it is a Christmas one.
These were 2 issues of a comic that were made and that people read, including us. I just echoing what everybody said, like, they're not awful, but they're not particularly great. They are the definition of mid, and it's like you took an episode of the show and just made it 2 issues of a comic and then forgot about some continuity issues.
And I did want to end on this thought, like, not deflecting legitimate criticism for current Sonic comics. I don't care what you think about the comics, as long as you're not an insane ranting person about them. But I do think this is an example of the far past with licensed Sonic comic books, where, like, it could be worse, folks, as far as your, problems you might have with current comic books. It could be much worse, because this feels like, like we said, this isn't even bad or terrible. This is it's just there. And that could be the only Sega approved Sonic extra stories we could get, instead of what we have now, which I think is a much more rich, enjoyable comic universe.
The things people say about the IDW comic, and I'm not saying it's perfect, because, it's not. I have my issues with it. But people kind of think it's this kind of, like, really, I don't know, grayscale dragged out of all of its joy and creativity has been pulled out for the sake of appeasing Sega. People often, like, try to think the IDW comics are, and no. Like, this is the kind of, like, I won't say this is completely sucked of all joy and creativity, but it really could be like this, and maybe that's what's. And God, let's hope the Sega doesn't decide to do that at some point.
This is the most licensed kids comic I have read in a good long while.
But yes, like we said, there are much better issues of the Sonic X comic. Hopefully we will get to some of those in the future. But until then, thank you for joining us on this little bonus episode. We like doing these, and you can find us on the social medias, usually under Sonic F or Sonic F series. You can find me. I'm GameBuddy on most social media, sometimes with a 1, 2, 3 at the end.
And you can find me all across the internet saying horrible things about those nasty Western writers for Sonic at Faulerro. That's FAULERRO.
Love that jingle. You can find me on the socials as RockTheJake, and you can find me on twitch.tv as Mr. RockTheJake.
And you can find me on the various socials at CyberLink420.
And a special thanks, as always, to Amy Waters for the use of our regular theme music from the album Gotta Go Slow. Check out more of her work on YouTube and Bandcamp and various other social medias. And of course, remember to like, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. It actually does help the show out, so we appreciate it very much.
And if you don't, King Boo's going to haunt you.
Yes. And in fact, speaking of haunting, in line with the spooky season, our next regular episode. I think we can tease this one on here.
We would have already teased it by now.
True. Man. Ooh, speaking of good scary comics, fuck all that mid shit. Here's some top tier. Okay, we are going to be reading the IDW miniseries Scrapnik Island, written by Daniel Barnes, who, I mean, I'll just say here, I love it. You should go read it. Read it so you can listen to our episode and listen to us talk about it.
It is,
I'm so
as the
excited.
kids say, peak.
I'm just taking a look at our schedule. I think we won't have announced that yet, but it's fine. This is a special preview for all of you listening to the bonus episode. You get to know what we're going to do in the episode after the current one.
We went out of order and recorded Fourth Dimension first.
No, it's fine. And also, we're talking about Halloween comics, so we're naturally going to think of that. But yeah.
We're all confused today.
Yeah,
but
we are.
Tune in next episode proper for Sonic and the Fourth Dimension, as we've already mentioned. Dimensioned.
Ah.
Do you have a spooky quote for us, Luke?
I mean, there's only one quote.
Okay. But until then, I'm GameBuddy.
I'm Faulerro.
I'm RockTheJake.
And I'm Cyber...
Which is Ghost for This Has Been The Hill Is Always Greener. And we'll see you on the other side.
Tennis court.
A ghost. I think I said that already. Meanwhile, back on the private island, let me say that differently. Private islands have a different connotation these days.
Oh, no.
Chris, you gotta help me shred these flight logs. Where's your grandfather? He said he went to Cuba, Dad?
Meanwhile, Eggman's in jail and he's got wow, what an interesting list of names.
I sure hope I don't mysteriously kill myself. Cannot leave that in the show. Cannot.